He stood outside the classroom, pretending to check his phone. Final exams were over. Laughter spilled into the hallway. The semester, and something else, was ending. She stepped out, saw him, and smiled. Then, like she always did, she flipped her hair back. He felt the moment arrive. The words were there. His heart surged forward, and then, nothing. He watched her walk past him, the chance dissolving with every step. Years later, he would still wonder, what would have happened if I had spoken? We all have a moment like that. Not a dramatic tragedy, not a grand confession gone wrong, just a quiet hesitation and a question that refuses to stay buried. Imagine, just for a moment, if there were a way to know. A mirror you could hold in your hands. One that didn't show who you became, but who you almost were. The lives you never stepped into. The loves you never dared to begin. Not to change the past, but simply to understand it. This is the story of a man who found such a mirror. But long before he ever held it, his life had already been shaped by the moments when he stayed silent. His fear didn't begin in college. It began years earlier, in high school, the first time he ever worked up the courage to confess how he felt. He saved his part-time wages for weeks. Flowers, a small bottle of perfume, and a handwritten letter, rewritten so many times the paper softened at the folds. He imagined the moment clearly. Her smile, her surprise, the relief of finally knowing. When he finally handed everything to her after school, the answer came gently, but it still cut deep. She was already in a relationship. Not as an excuse, not out of cruelty, simply too late. He smiled, said he understood, and walked away carrying a lesson he never meant to learn. That wanting something doesn't mean you're allowed to reach for it. After that, he became careful, too careful. Later in high school, there was another girl, nothing obvious, shared jokes, passing glances, a feeling so small he didn't recognize it until years later at a reunion when he saw her again, radiant, and realized something had quietly slipped past him. In college, the moments grew louder. There were two girls. One was polished and confident. His type. Smart, well-dressed. Every time she saw him, she smiled and flipped her hair back. The other was warm, untamed, easy to talk to. Laughter came naturally with her. On the day of his final exam, a horoscope in the school paper promised a perfect 10 for romance. He waited outside the classroom. The smart girl walked out first. She smiled. She flipped her hair back, and the silence returned. Instead, he walked with the other girl. They talked, they laughed, but nothing crossed the invisible line. Later, he would tell himself it wouldn't have worked anyway, that their personalities didn't match, and the feeling wasn't right. But the question remained, was that certainty or fear wearing a convincing disguise? After college, something finally happened. He fell in love. Not all at once, but carefully, as though afraid it might disappear if he moved too quickly. They met online almost by accident. She asked a question he happened to know the answer to. He replied. She listened. Messages turned into conversations. Conversations became long phone calls that stretched late into the night. And when he finally crossed state lines to meet her, he felt something unfamiliar. Not anxiety, not hesitation, hope. The relationship felt like proof that he was capable of being wanted, proof that his silence in the past hadn't doomed him forever. They learned each other slowly, shared routines, shared plans, shared a future that almost felt reachable. When it ended, it didn't collapse in flames. It faded. They parted kindly, knowing they had reached the edge of what they could give each other. The sadness lingered, but so did something else. A quiet realization. He was not unlovable. Afterward, he tried to find that feeling again. Dating apps, carefully chosen photos, thoughtful messages sent into digital silence. Some led to first dates, a few led to second, most led nowhere. He met people he never would have met otherwise, shared meals, shared stories, and then polite goodbyes, over and over. One woman came closer than the rest, a few years older, warm, attentive. They dated for a couple of months, lingered just shy of commitment. When she finally spoke the truth, he believed her. She had been left once, suddenly, without warning, and she wasn't ready to risk that pain again. He didn't feel rejected, he felt understanding. Bad timing. Again.
Then he met her, the second girlfriend. What they built lasted nearly 2 years. Long enough to matter. Long enough to change him. She believed in him, even when he struggled to see himself. She encouraged him without pushing, challenged him without judgment, and slowly, he began to believe in himself. He spoke with more certainty, stood more comfortably in his own presence, allowed himself to be chosen and to choose back. When the relationship ended, it hurt, but it didn't hollow him out. Only later would he understand that some people are meant to prepare us, not stay with us. The change came quietly. He updated his wardrobe, paid more attention to how he carried himself, started working out, not to chase approval, but because it felt right to invest in himself. He wasn't searching harder. He was simply moving through the world as someone who believed he belonged in it. That was how he ended up in the mall one afternoon, browsing accessories. That was when he saw her, the clerk. She smiled, looked at him with genuine interest, and asked if he needed help. He can tell her smile wasn't just the obligatory employee greeting. He felt it again, that familiar tightening in his chest, the edge of a moment asking to be crossed. And despite everything he had learned, despite how far he had come, he froze. He left the store, and this time, the regret followed him home. He turned back, told himself he wouldn't repeat the past, but when he returned, she was gone. Her shift had ended, and the moment had passed with it. That was when he stopped looking, not in defeat, not in anger, but with quiet exhaustion. If love was meant to find him, it would. And if not, perhaps the answers he wanted weren't waiting in another profile, or another date, or another version of himself. He didn't know yet that those answers were already waiting, under the glow of a lantern, in a shop filled with unfinished stories. He found the shop by accident, or at least that's how it felt at the time. It sat between two modern storefronts, narrow and unassuming, as though it had been overlooked by time itself. The sign above the door read, "By Lantern's Glow." Beneath it, in smaller letters, "May what remains teach more than what was lost." He stood there longer than he meant to. Something about the place felt like an invitation or a challenge. Finally, he stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of dust and old paper. Shelves were crowded with objects that seemed to have outlived their purpose. Clocks that no longer ticked, compasses dulled by age, mirrors framed in tarnished silver. Each item felt heavy, not with value, but with memory. From behind the counter, the owner looked up. He was old, though not fragile, the kind of man whose age felt intentional.
Welcome to By Lantern's Glow. What answers do you seek?
The man almost laughed.
He hadn't planned on asking anything, but the words surfaced anyway.
I want to know where I should look for my true love.
The owner studied him, not with curiosity, but recognition. Without a word, he reached to a nearby shelf and lifted down an old hand mirror. It was unremarkable at first glance. No cracks, no shine, just glass, dulled by time. The owner placed it in his hands.
This is the Mirror of Dormant Destinies.
The man frowned.
What does it do?
The owner smiled, not kindly, but knowingly. He gestured gently toward the glass.
It is blind to the life you chose. It will not show you the lovers you held, nor the ones who turned you away. It only has eyes for the seeds that were never planted. The answers you're looking for lie in those dormant destinies.
The man looked down at the mirror. It reflected nothing but his own tired face. He felt foolish, but something inside him, the same instinct that had led him into the shop, urged him forward. He purchased the mirror, thanked the owner, and stepped back out into the world, unsure of what he had just agreed to believe. That night, in the quiet of his room, he placed the mirror on the table and sat across from it. The room was still. The glass was dark. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the surface rippled. Images began to form. Not dreams, not memories, but something in between. Scenes that felt both foreign and intimately familiar. The mirror had begun to answer him, not with promises, but with truth. The first image came slowly, as if the mirror were deciding how much truth he could handle. He saw himself younger, awkward, uncertain, standing in a familiar place. It was the girl from his later high school years, the one he hadn't realized he liked until it was too late. In the mirror, he watched himself take the chance he never did. They laughed, dated, fell into something that felt important because it was new. Puppy love. Firsts. Then arguments, misunderstandings, a slow unraveling neither of them knew how to stop. The relationship ended not with closure, but with resentment. The image faded. He felt something unexpected. Not grief, relief. The mirror shifted again. This time he stood outside the college classroom, final exams over. The moment he'd replayed for years. In the mirror, he didn't freeze. He spoke, asked her for coffee. She smiled, not surprised, but curious. They talked, went on dates, learned each other in fragments. Then came the truth. She was seeing other people. Not of cruelty, not deceit, but honesty. She was searching for a good match. He watched himself fall harder than he should have. Try to prove himself. Try to win. For a time, he succeeded, but it didn't last. He was too young, still learning who he was. She had already learned what she wanted, and it wasn't him. They drifted apart, gently, without betrayal. The image dissolved.
The third sequence barely had time to form. It was the girl with the untamed energy. In the mirror, she laughed with him, the same easy laughter he remembered. And then she shook her head, friendly, comfortable, not romantic. The mirror didn't linger. It didn't need to. He already understood, a path that confirmed his instincts had been right all along. One image faded into the next. High school, college, online matches he never pursued, conversations that never became dates, paths that ended shortly after they began. Over and over, the mirror showed him the same truth. Not every door he failed to open led somewhere worth going. The weight he had carried for years began to lift, not because the past was kind, but because it was honest. And then he noticed something. The mirror had gone still. There was one face missing. The clerk. He waited, focused, remembered her smile, the way she had looked at him as if he mattered. But the glass remained empty. His relief turned to frustration, confusion, then anger. He sat back, staring at the mirror.
Show me.
He whispered, but it didn't. The room felt quiet again, too quiet, and for the first time that night, he felt afraid. Not of what the mirror showed him, but of what it wouldn't. He returned to the shop the next morning. By Lantern's Plow looked the same as it always had, narrow, unassuming, patient. The bell above the door chimed as he stepped inside. The owner stood behind the counter, polishing a brass compass. He didn't look surprised to see him.
The mirror is broken.
The man said, setting it down harder than he meant to.
It showed me ghosts from years ago, but it wouldn't show me her.
His voice tightened.
If she was a might have been, why wasn't she there?
The owner continued polishing, calm as ever. He said at last,
The mirror is never broken, son. It is merely honest.
He finally looked up.
The mirror only reflects the dead ends.
He tapped the glass gently.
If a destiny isn't dormant, the glass has nothing to show.
The words hung in the air. The man frowned.
So, what are you saying?
The owner smiled, not cryptically, but kindly. He said,
Some paths don't exist to be imagined. They exist to be lived.
Before the man could respond, the shop door chimed again. A voice followed, light, familiar.
Grandpa, I brought you cookies.
The man turned. She stood in the doorway, a little older, a little changed, but unmistakable. The clerk. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The years folded in on themselves. She smiled, the same way she had before. And this time, he didn't freeze. In that moment, he finally understood. The mirror hadn't failed him. It had spared him. Every hesitation, every missed chance, every regret had been quietly guiding him, not away from love, but toward the moment he was finally ready to meet it. We spend so much of our lives haunted by what might have been. But some doors don't open because they aren't meant to be opened. Some silences exist to teach us how to speak. And sometimes, even our regrets are part of the path leading us exactly where we need to be.
If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and comment below. We will see you next time.